What if the real battle in your life isn't happening out there in the world, but inside your own mind? You know that feeling, don't you? That strange weight sitting on your chest before your eyes even open in the morning. The alarm hasn't even finished ringing, and already the storm has started again. The same thoughts rush in like uninvited guests. You're not good enough. This won't work. What if everything falls apart? Different morning, same war inside your head. You try to push those thoughts away. They push back harder. You try to ignore them, to drown them out, but they only grow louder. Before you've even had breakfast, you're already exhausted from fighting a battle nobody else can see. Fear whispers in your ear. Anger burns quietly under the surface. Anxiety tightens around your throat like a fist that refuses to let go. And here's the truth most people never tell you. Fighting yourself is the loneliest war you will ever wage. So you do what most people do. You scroll through your phone. You distract yourself. You numb the noise with endless content, endless stimulation, anything that might quiet the chaos inside your mind. But the noise keeps following you. Because the noise is coming from within. And deep down, something inside you already knows this. You were never meant to live like this. Trapped in your own mind. Controlled by emotions you didn't choose. Reacting to everything instead of consciously responding. Surviving each day instead of truly living it. But what if there's another way? What if the real problem isn't the thoughts themselves, but what you've been taught to do with them? What if you could face fear without being paralyzed by it? Meet anger without being consumed by it? And sit with anxiety without losing yourself in the process? You can. And that's exactly what we're about to explore together. This isn't just philosophy. This isn't abstract theory. This is freedom. This is the moment where things begin to change. If you're ready to start this journey right now, type, "Today I begin," in the comments. Make the decision real. Make the commitment visible. Because everything starts with a choice. Now let me ask you something honestly. How much of your life has already been stolen by this invisible battle inside your head? How many conversations did you have here because your mind was somewhere else, replaying an old argument or rehearsing a disaster that hasn't even happened yet? How many beautiful moments slipped past you because anxiety convinced you that something bad was just around the corner? Think about yesterday. Think about last week. Think about the past year. How much energy did you spend simply trying to feel okay? How many opportunities did you avoid because fear whispered that you would fail? How much time have you spent angry at situations you cannot change, people you cannot control, and outcomes that were never truly in your hands to begin with? Here's the heartbreaking truth. Most people live this way for decades. They never question it. They simply assume this is how life works. That everyone is trapped inside their own thoughts. That constant overthinking is normal. That emotional chaos is just the price of being human. But it isn't. And somewhere deep down, you already know that. That's why you're here watching this video. Something inside you refuses to accept that this is your permanent reality. Something inside you is pushing back against the idea that life must feel like an endless mental battlefield. Maybe you reached a breaking point. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe one morning you simply woke up and realized you couldn't keep living at war with yourself. Whatever brought you here, you've arrived at one of the most important realizations a human being can have. Something has to change. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because the cost of staying the same is simply too high. You are too young to feel this tired. Too alive to feel this numb. Too capable to feel this powerless. That quiet voice inside you, the one that says there must be more to life than this, that voice is right. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't need to become someone else to find peace. You don't need to fix yourself because you are not broken. And you don't need to eliminate every negative thought from your mind. That would be impossible and unnecessary. What you truly need is something far more powerful. You need a new relationship with your own mind. You need to understand what is actually within your control and what never was. You need to learn how to observe your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. And for that, we're going to turn to something ancient, something timeless. A set of ideas that has helped millions of people face fear, anger, and uncertainty with calm strength. Wisdom that began over 2,000 years ago. In ancient Rome and Greece, there were people facing the same struggles you're facing right now. Just a moment ago, we talked about the silent battle happening inside your mind. Now, let's travel back in time and look at people who faced the very same struggle and discovered a way to master it. Thousands of years ago, people were dealing with the same emotions you face today: loss, betrayal, uncertainty about the future, the sting of injustice, the crushing weight of responsibility, and of course, the quiet ache of anxiety that follows you even when nothing seems wrong. Life wasn't easier for them. In many ways, it was far harsher. And yet, some individuals discovered something extraordinary. They found a way to remain calm in the middle of chaos. They learned how to stay steady even when everything around them seemed to be falling apart. They could face hardship, loss, and uncertainty without being shattered by it. These people became known as the Stoics. But don't imagine monks hiding in remote mountains, meditating far away from the world. The Stoics lived right in the middle of life's storms. Some were emperors. Some were slaves. Some were soldiers, teachers, and advisors navigating dangerous political systems. One of them, Marcus Aurelius, ruled the entire Roman Empire during a time of brutal wars and devastating plagues. Imagine leading millions of people while your empire is crumbling under pressure. Another, Epictetus, began his life in chains. Born into slavery, he experienced the harshest limitations imaginable. And yet, he developed a philosophy centered entirely on inner freedom. Then, there was Seneca, a statesman and advisor to powerful rulers. His life unfolded inside the dangerous politics of Rome, and eventually he was ordered to take his own life. And still, he faced that final moment with dignity and calm. These were not sheltered thinkers living peaceful lives. Their lives were messy, complicated, and often dangerous. Yet despite everything they endured, they uncovered a truth so powerful that it has survived for over 2,000 years. a truth that can change the way you experience every moment of your life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote a simple but profound line in his private journal. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What makes that quote even more remarkable is the context. He didn't write those words for an audience. He wasn't preparing a speech or a book. He wrote them privately during one of the darkest periods in Roman history. He wrote them to remind himself how to stay sane. And this is exactly why Stoicism matters so much to you today. Because Stoicism is often misunderstood. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's not about pretending you don't feel pain. And it's definitely not about becoming cold, distant, or indifferent. Stoicism is about something much deeper. It's about clearly understanding the difference between what you can control and what you cannot control, and then directing all your energy toward the things that are actually within your power. Pause for a moment and really think about that. How much of your daily stress comes from trying to control things that were never yours to control in the first place? Other people's opinions. Past mistakes you can't undo. Future outcomes that haven't happened yet. The weather, traffic, delayed messages, someone ignoring your text. You spend enormous amounts of energy trying to manage the unmanageable. But your response to these things? That belongs to you. Your interpretation of what happens? Yours. Your decisions moving forward? Completely yours. Epictetus explained this idea with striking clarity. He said, "It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it." And this isn't about forcing yourself to think positive. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. It's something far more powerful than that. It's about taking full responsibility for the one thing that has always belonged to you, your inner world. Your mind is the only territory you truly govern. But right now, many people have unknowingly surrendered that territory. Fear, anger, and anxiety have quietly staged a coup. They've taken control. They're running the show. Every decision, every reaction, every thought, dictated by emotion. But here's the good news. You can take that control back. And the solution is not to fight your emotions harder. It's not about suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. The solution is understanding the game you're actually playing and learning to play it with wisdom instead of panic. The Stoics spent their entire lives refining this wisdom. Generation after generation, they explored the human mind and discovered practical ways to live with strength and clarity. And now, that wisdom is available to you. But before you can truly master your emotions, there's something important you need to understand. What exactly are these emotions in the first place? Fear, anger, anxiety. Believe it or not, they are not your enemies. They are messengers. They are signals from your brain designed to protect you. Fear says, "Danger ahead. Prepare yourself." Anger says, "A boundary has been crossed. Something important needs to be defended." Anxiety says, "Something is uncertain. Stay alert." In the right situations, these emotions are incredibly useful. If a car suddenly speeds toward you in the street, fear instantly pushes your body to move out of the way. If someone harms someone you love, anger can give you the courage to stand up and act. If you're facing an important deadline, a little anxiety can sharpen your focus and keep you alert. So the problem isn't that you experience these emotions. The real problem is something much simpler. Your brain hasn't updated its software. Your nervous system was designed thousands of years ago, in a world where threats were immediate and physical. A lion hiding in tall grass. A rival tribe approaching your village. A cliff edge in the dark. In those situations, fear, anger, and anxiety kept you alive. But today, your brain often reacts the same way to things that are far less dangerous. A stressful email. An awkward conversation. A critical comment online. Your mind treats them like life or death threats. It floods your body with stress hormones, not because a predator is chasing you, but because you're worried about something that might happen next month. And that's where so much of modern suffering begins. A moment ago, we discovered something powerful. Many of the emotions that trouble us today are ancient survival tools reacting to a modern world. Now let's take that insight one step further, because once you understand where your suffering truly comes from, everything begins to change. Your emotions are doing exactly what they were designed to do. Fear, anger, and anxiety are simply trying to protect you. The problem is that they're operating in a world they were never designed for. And this is where the Stoics offer something incredibly valuable, a lifeline. The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote a sentence that has echoed across centuries. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Read that again slowly. Think about it. Most of your fear isn't actually about what's happening right now. It's about what might happen later. Most of your anger isn't really about the present moment. It's about the story your mind creates around that moment. And most of your anxiety isn't rooted in real danger. It's rooted in uncertainty about the future. In other words, you're often not fighting reality itself. You're fighting your thoughts about reality. And that realization changes everything. Because while you cannot control whether someone insults you, you can absolutely control whether that insult becomes a verdict on your worth. You cannot control whether you lose a job, face rejection, or encounter unexpected setbacks. But you can control how you interpret those events. Is it the end of your story? Or is it simply the beginning of a new chapter? The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius captured this idea beautifully. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Your estimate. Your interpretation. Your story. That's where the real battle is happening. Not somewhere out in the chaotic world. Not in traffic. Not in the office. Not on social media. The battlefield is here, inside your own mind. Between your ears. And once you see that clearly, something remarkable becomes possible. When fear appears, you don't have to automatically obey it. You can pause for a moment. You can acknowledge it. In fact, You can even thank it for trying to protect you. Then you ask yourself a simple question. Is this fear offering useful information, or is it just outdated programming? When anger rises, you don't have to let it consume you like a wildfire. Instead, you can step back for a moment. You can examine what triggered it. And from that space, you can choose a response that strengthens you instead of one that damages everything around you. And when anxiety tightens its grip, you don't have to believe every terrifying prediction it whispers. You can breathe. You can anchor yourself in the present moment. You can remind yourself of what is actually true right now. This is the critical shift. You move from being controlled by your emotions to becoming aware of them. And awareness, that's where your real power lives. Once you can observe your emotions instead of blindly reacting to them, you reclaim control over your inner world. Now, at this point, you understand the philosophy behind Stoicism. But philosophy alone isn't enough. Knowing the ideas is one thing. Living them is another. So let's move from theory into practice. What do you actually do when fear, anger, or anxiety show up at your door? Let's start with fear. Fear has a favorite place to live, the future. It thrives in the land of, what if? What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if everything falls apart? The Stoics had a fascinating technique to deal with this. They called it premeditatio malorum, which simply means premeditation of evils. It sounds dramatic, but the idea is surprisingly practical. Instead of running away from your fears, you turn around and face them directly. You ask yourself a calm and honest question. What is the actual worst-case scenario here? And then you ask a second question. If that happened, could I handle it? Most of the time, the honest answer is yes. Seneca himself practiced this exercise regularly. Once a month, he would intentionally live as if he had lost everything. He would sleep on the floor, eat simple food, and wear rough clothing. Why would someone voluntarily do that? Because he wanted to prove something to himself. He wanted to know, deeply and undeniably, that even if fortune abandoned him, he would still survive. By doing this, he removed the terror of the unknown. You could apply the same idea in your own life. Afraid of losing your job? Imagine that it actually happens. What would you do next? You would update your resume. Reach out to people in your network. Explore new opportunities. Maybe even pursue a path you've secretly been curious about. Would it be difficult? Of course. But would it destroy you? Probably not. Or think about rejection. Imagine hearing the word, no. Yes, it stings. There's disappointment. Maybe even embarrassment. But then what happens? You keep going. You try again. And eventually you realize something incredibly freeing. One person's rejection does not define your value. When you calmly rehearse difficult scenarios in your mind, something surprising happens. Fear begins to lose its power. Because the unknown no longer feels like a dark, terrifying mystery. It becomes something you've already faced, at least in your imagination, and something you now know you can survive. Just a moment ago, we talked about how fear loses its power when you face it calmly instead of running from it. But fear isn't the only emotion that can take control of your mind. There's another one that moves even faster: anger. Fear often hides in the future, but anger explodes in the present. Anger is quick. It's like a sudden flash flood. One moment everything seems fine, and the next moment the water is rising so fast you barely have time to think. And if you react while you're in the middle of that surge, things almost always get worse. The Stoics understood this very well. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius once reflected on anger with striking honesty. He wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" In simpler terms, the damage we create while angry is often far worse than the event that triggered the anger in the first place. Think about that for a moment. How many arguments have escalated because someone reacted too quickly? How many relationships have been strained, or even broken, because of a few words spoken in anger? So what did the Stoics recommend? The strategy is surprisingly simple. Pause. That's it. Just pause. When you feel the heat of anger rising, when you feel the sudden urge to defend yourself, attack back, or fire off a harsh response, stop for a moment. Take a breath. If you need to, count slowly to 10. Step away from the conversation. Walk around the room. Close the message instead of sending it.